Hi, everybody. Dan Ullman, Mike Beer. Special coverage of the 20-cent Rainbow Six on Curlin, Florida Derby Saturday at Gulfstream Park. There is a guaranteed payout at Gulfstream on Saturday. If this wager carries over into Saturday's card, there's the possibility of something like a $5 million pool in the Rainbow Six. Now, all of these races are stakes races. Each individual race has its own stakes preview available on DRFTV, video.drf.com, or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. So we're going to talk about this from a Rainbow Six perspective. Here's Mike Beer's Rainbow Six Ticketmaker ticket. And remember, when you make your final plays, head on over to drf.com. Use Ticketmaker. It's the most efficient way to play these multiple race wagers using Steve Crisp's A, B, and C technique. We kick things off in the Rainbow Six with race 9, the $100,000 Sand Springs Mike. The number 5 newspaper of record is the big name coming off of the layoff. You're using her defensively.
I mean, I feel like you have to use her. I certainly wouldn't argue with anybody who wanted to lean on her, and certainly wouldn't argue with anybody who wanted to move her up to an A selection. I think in a lot of ways she's the horse to beat. She's just not that easy to trust after, let's face it, a very disappointing 3-year-old 3-race campaign last year. I think she's making the lead in here, Dan, and I expect her to be pretty tough. I just didn't fully trust her, so I wanted some coverage. This race to me, along with the 5th leg, the Appleton, felt like the 2 races where I wanted the most coverage, certainly as much coverage as I could get. So I'm going to use newspaper of record. But I'm going to use other horses as well. I'm going to use the closer, Zoelli, the 2, who just ran really well in the first 3 starts in North America for Brendan Walsh. She didn't run quite as well last time, but it looks like there's going to be pace in this race. I think she's going to come running at the end of it. I definitely want to use her. I'm very interested in the 8 East Moon. This horse is going to be a big price in this race. I think she's going to fall into a trip. And I think overall she's underrated on turf. She's run some really good turf races. In particular, that race 2 starts back on her card at Keeneland last October. I thought she ran great that day and was very unlucky not to win it. And I'm also going to throw La Signore in, another horse for Brendan Walsh. She has speed, but she's learned to rate since Brendan Walsh took over. And I like the form she's in. She's run well in her last 3 races, and I think she can get a piece of this. I think she'll come running at the end.
2 A's, 2 B's for Mike in the kickoff leg of the Rainbow Six. The 2 and the 8 are A's, the 5 and the 6 are B's. We move to race number 10. We hope, Mike, that you're alive. If not, there's still plenty of action, friends. 50-cent pick 5 time kicks off with race number 10. There's a guaranteed payout in there as well, $400,000. It's the grade 3 Orchid Stakes. Mike, you got 2 A's in here, Gentle Ruler and Mean Mary, and the 12 horse, Elizabeth Way, tough post position. These 3 just seem like the most likely horses in this race.
That's what I thought, Dan. I thought all 3 of them are logical. If you weren't, concerned about your budget so much, you could just make the 12 move her up to an A and make all 3 of them A's. I certainly wouldn't argue with that. I was just trying to keep the budget down a little bit as far as the ticket goes. But certainly Elizabeth Way is a major contender in this race. Maybe has a little bit more working against her than the other 2 do, as far as, having to stretch way out in distance for this. But I like both of her starts since she's gotten over here for Roger Atfield. I'm definitely using her prominently. Mean Mary, what can you say, Dan? She's got all the upside. She's very well bred. She just won a race at 1.5 miles here, a grade 3 in January, where she got loose on the lead and sprinted home in a really impressive win. I don't see how you leave her out in this race because she looks like she's going to get loose again. She's very dangerous. I do feel like the 5 Gentle Ruler might just be the best horse when you take distance into consideration. She's a true distance lover on the turf. She went 5 for 6 going long on the grass last year, including a couple of grade 3 wins. She's a really good horse. There's a little bit of a layoff to deal with. Maybe she needs one off the bench, but I'm going to trust Ian Wilkes to have her ready. If she comes back and runs her best race, I actually think she's going to be hard to beat in this race.
We want, Mike, we want all of you to be alive after the first 2 legs of the Rainbow Six. But if not, there is a guaranteed 50-cent pick 4, starting with race number 11. The grade 2 Phased Tipton Gulfstream Park Oaks, $500,000 guaranteed pool into the pick 4. And again, Mike, I think you've found the 3 logical horses in this race. You've got your 2 A's in here, the 4 Lake Avenue, the 9 Tonalist Shape, the 5 Spices Nice is your B.
Yeah, I mean, again, all 3 of them could be A's. I feel like this is a race that you could really look at one of 2 ways, Dan. I guess I feel like some people might look at it and think there could be some chaos in here. I didn't really look at it that way. I think the three logical horses are the 4, 5, and the 9, and I would just try to get through it with them. Lake Avenue is the 4. She was very disappointing in her 3-year-old debut for Bill Mott back earlier this month. She did not run well in the Busher. I thought there could be some mitigating circumstances there. The pace was fast, and I thought the rail might have been dead at Eckwood that day when she was on the rail. So I'm going to give her the excuse, and I'm going to give her the chance to rebound in here. And if she rebounds, I actually think she's going to be really hard to beat. So I definitely want her as an A. Tonalist shape, I think her merits are obvious. She's 5 for 5 in her career. She's handled a lot of different distances. She has an adaptable running style. Last time it was on the lead in the Devona Dale, but she does not need to be on the lead to be effective. And I think she's going to stretch out. She has to prove it in here. She's never been around 2 turns. I'm not worried about distance for her. I just happen to think she's really good. And I definitely want to use her as an A. And Spice is nice. I'm not giving up on this horse yet. Her debut was super impressive for Pletcher. And even though she was no match for Tonalist Shape last time, it was only her first start against winners at a grade 2 race. She didn't break that great from the gate. She looked a little awkward early. I actually feel like she ran okay, and she just has tons of upside. I think she's a horse you definitely want to use, whether it's as a main player or just as a backup.
Halfway through the Rainbow 6 with Mike's ticket, and we move on to race 12, the grade 2 Kittens Joy Pan American Stakes. And one of, if not the biggest favorite in this sequence, is in the Kittens Joy Pan American, and that is the number 9 Zulu Alpha. He's just been a bear. That's how I described him in the stakes preview. He's had something like 7 consecutive triple-digit buyer speed figures coming into this race. He is your only A, but you do have coverage as backups.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to single in this sequence, he's just so obviously the most likely horse to single. I'm not going to go into, why that is. Anybody who's seen his 2 races so far in 2020 knows that he's way the horse to beat in here. And even though he's come from off the pace in those races, Dan, I don't think he's a horse who will really be pace compromised. If they don't go fast early, he's not going to be way out of it. He's going to be right up close. He just makes a ton of sense. So I can understand anybody who just wants to single him. I just threw in a couple of backups. Certainly Channel Cat seems to make the most sense as far as I'm concerned as an alternative. He ran 5 triple-digit buyers last year. He has the speed to get forward from his inside draw this time. I think that could be key. I think you might actually see this horse on the lead in this race. And that's, that makes him pretty dangerous. That actually gives him a real chance at an upset. So I would want to use him at least as a backup. I also threw Focus Group in as a backup. Listen, if you want to drop him off the ticket, I wouldn't, argue with you too much. I just wanted to have, one more horse in there. And to me, Focus Group is a horse he's capable of a race that would give him a chance in here. I don't know if he's that kind of a horse anymore. And obviously with his running style, he needs some help. But he's run some really good races in the past, and he wants a 1.5 miles.
We've gone from a race with Zulu Alpha as a heavy favorite to a real skullbuster. Race number 13 is the grade 3 Appleton. It is just simply a wide open race. You've got 2 A's and 2 B's in here. Your 2 A's are the 3 March to the Arch, the 7 Social Paranoia. Your B's are the 1 English B and the 8, the Speedy Dr. Edgar.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, again, like I said at the Open, I thought the Sand Spring and this race were the 2 where I just wanted the most coverage. Even as I say that, though, I do think that March to the Arch, I do think he's the horse to beat in here. He has the credentials to be really hard on this field. You and I sort of disagreed in our stakes preview video for this about his last race at Tampa Bay. You didn't think he really had any excuse not to win that day. And I don't, wholly disagree with that, because he did look like he got his head in front in deep stretch, and then he failed to get it done. But I thought he had enough trouble in the upper stretch of that race to be compromised at the end. I really liked the way he came back off the layoff, though. And I just expect him to show up in this race. And the other thing I like about him, Dan, is he's just going to get a great trip in this race. He's a very tactical horse. And this is a race where it feels like trips are going to be very, very important. That's why I wanted to use him. And that's why I made Social Paranoia my other A in the race. He ran no bad races as a 3-year-old for Pletcher on the grass. He only won 2 of those races, but he ran well every single time. And he's a very tactical horse. He's another horse who's going to get a great trip in here. If he improves as a 4-year-old, he's supposed to be pretty tough in here.
And to grab the pot of gold at the end of this Rainbow 6 sequence, you got to complete it with the big race of the day. The Grade 1 Curlin Florida Derby, $750,000 is the purse. We'll throw out Mike's Ticketmaker play one more time. Remember that the Curlin, Florida Derby is your DRF race of the day. That means you can download free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Mike, you've got 2 A's and 1 B. Gouverneur Morris, the 5. Tis the Law, the 7 are your A's. Independence Hall, the 9 is your B's. You've left off Ete Indian, the Fountain of Youth winner.
Yeah, I mean, again, as we discussed in our stakes preview video that'll be up there on the website, I just don't care for the Fountain of Youth as a race overall. Ete Indian was a dominant winner that day. I just didn't like that race overall. 2 starts back, he was no match at all for Tis the Law. So I didn't really see why things would be different in this race. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't want the Fountain of Youth horses in here. And I just, sort of went with the very logical horses, I think, Dan. Tis the Law is way the horse to beat in here. He's one of the better 3-year-olds in the country, coming off a triple-digit win in the Holy Bull. I'm not leaving him out. I feel like Gouverneur Morris is all upside for Pletcher, and I really liked his return to the races at Tampa last time in an allowance race. He's getting tested here, but I'm not going to be surprised if he's up for it. And Independence Hall, listen, he's already run faster than Tis the Law has. I realize that he's got something to prove going a longer distance here. But his Sam Davis last time wasn't bad. He was very close to a fast pace. I thought he ran fine. I think he's a major contender in this race.
So there's Mike's ticket for the Rainbow 6, 20-cent minimum wager. This pool could get up to about $5 million on Saturday. It starts with race number 9, the Sand Springs Stakes, approximate post time 3:34 Eastern. For more information on using Ticketmaker, head on over to drf.com/Ticketmaker. Mike, great job. Best of luck in the Rainbow 6.